When have you heard Alex Jones actually quoting books, 1,000-year-old books, 500-year-old books? I'm the only one doing it for real, right? He's talking about gay frogs. I like Alex and all that. I like him. I really like him. He's my inspiration. I'm not disrespecting him. But come on, dude. Someone has to do conspiracy correct. When you're doing conspiracy and believing in aliens, Project Bluebeam, most conspiracy people are really believing in aliens and dinosaurs. They don't even understand the shape of the earth. They don't understand the geocentric firmament system from the Bible. They want science. They love it because they grew up with NASA and their dad building rockets with them. Rockets are obelisks made to penetrate the dome of God. Operation Fishbowl Dominic. Dominic is of the Lord. Fishbowl of the Lord. And they were shooting rockets. Boom, boom, boom. Trying to penetrate some kind of dome. Well, what kind of dome? Think of a rainbow. It's dome shaped because it's reflecting off the dome. All the stars are fixed in place. That's why they spin counterclockwise. It's a fucking snow globe, not a fucking disc flying through space. Space is fake. All pictures of Mars, Jupiter, that's your religion. It's called heliocentrism. It's a Luciferian religion, sun worship. Read your Bible, dude. The highest purchasing power we've ever seen with the highest depression and suicide and anxiety, and you don't want to go to your Bible right now? Bitch, when are you gonna go? When the barrel's at your head?
So, are there planets?
Yeah, they're luminaries. They're wandering stars. Planets are wandering stars. They're just stars with a different orbit. They're not the blanket of stars that move. They just have their own thing. The Greeks worship these planets because they're not moving towards God's decision. They're going their own path, like Mars. Like Mars is the god of war and all that shit. And they'd worship them. They'd be like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be like Jupiter. I want to be horse shit because Christ is king and wiped all that pagan garbage completely out of the system and stopped this child sacrifice and all this freak shit. But now we're seeing a rise in pagan star worship. There's little bitches, little 13-year-old, I don't give a fuck if they're 13. They're playing with little crystals on TikTok. Have you seen those little meth dealers?
I have.
What?
I've seen grown women doing that actually.
They're worshiping rocks and minerals. And you see a lot of Wicca and witchcraft everywhere, not just LA. And you got to ask yourself, like, you think the Bible, the Bible is so accurate on so many things. Do you really think witchcraft they fucked up on? Oh, they just made that one up? Or was there something to it? Manny P. Hall and these Freemasons who literally wrote the most influential books of all time. He wrote, magic is controlling the invisible forces of nature, that you can affect the mental plane. That's why for MK Ultra projects where they want someone like Ted Bundy and all these serial killers that are military related, all of them.
Wait, hold on. I'm a little confused. How do we go from black magic to serial killers?
I'm gonna break it down. Because black magic at its highest, most powerful Aleister Crowley level is always rape ritual, sodomy of a little 11-year-old boy of highest intelligence, and sometimes sacrifice, but most of the time it's rape. Why? Because when you rape someone, yes, you fuck their psyche, but when you rape them with satanic chanting and visuals and when you do that to them, you're actually terrifying them so much they split into a dissociative state. And now they go to a happy place in their head to cope with all this. And when they're in the dissociative zombie state, they go like this. And that's when you program them. You say, get up! And the child will listen and repress the memory for decades. Maybe they become like a NFL player or they work at a magazine or whatever. Maybe 10 years goes by and they think this is just a bad dream. They've repressed the memory. I call them. They pick up their phone and I trigger them with the highest level of trauma, the memory of their rape. Get up! And that command puts them back into that zombie state. At that zombie state, they say, go shoot this motherfucking place up. They perfected this in ancient Egypt. In my documentary, we talk about Joe Rogan and all these people who we're talking about Egyptians all day, but we don't know anything about Egyptians. Why? Because they will never tell you that the tomb of becoming a pharaoh as a little boy, you go in with a soul partner. One becomes the philosophical king and the other is sacrificed in front of the other. 10 sages violently rape one of the boys. Everyone in the tribe believes that that boy goes into that tomb and up into heaven, but what's happening is his flesh is being torn. He's being forced to eat his own flesh. He's being raped and murdered to death, and the other boy must stay in darkness for 3 nights and be resurrected, sometimes even 7, depending on which ritual. I'm going to cover both on my documentary. Why is this so important? Because when someone becomes king and is initiated by these dark sages this way, this king will never, ever turn on the people who have shown them the highest evil of what they're capable of. They always look at those sages as their mentors, their guidance, their gods. So the kings can only be put into power if their mind is dissociated, shattered into a dissociate state, not just fractured, way worse.
And that's only in Egypt.
Well, Druidic practices, it's all over. For example, the best way to not piss away the family's wealth is not to give your fucking kids your $1 billion assets. It's to cut your kid's puppy's head off in front of them and say, do as you're told and become a financier for the Bank of London. And they do it. This is trauma-based mind control that Kay Griggs in my documentary actually exposes. Now, why this stuff's important to me is because I've never read books in my life, but I'm obsessed with power. I want to know who rules me, how they do it, and why. And when I found out that you cannot have a mind slave without the symbols and rituals of Satanism, well then, motherfucker, Satanism became real. It became real. So when you study this stuff, the only conclusion is Christ is king. That if there's people out there using Satanism to keep their fortunes, then the Bible's whole motto of the material world is ruled by the devil, it's actually correct.
So is that why there's like Satanism in music videos and stuff like that and performances?
Yeah, a lot of it is to penetrate the subconscious, the lunar psyche, the female psyche. The male is the active principle that's conscious, right? The solar, and the lunar is when you're asleep, or the opposite of wakefulness.